Thanks for being with me, everybody. Much has been said about the referendum since it was held a couple of weeks ago. The issues that created the formulation of the voice in the first place have not miraculously disappeared. The desire by First Nations people to improve the outcomes for their communities, families and children remain as significant as it did before the referendum. Understandably, they feel rejected and betrayed by the Australian community. Those of us who are non-Indigenous need to stand in solidarity with the Indigenous community. It is important, I think, for us to understand the struggles they confront and accept the role that those who have gone before us have played in determining the disadvantages which we have created, which our forefathers have created for Indigenous people. So it is important, and it saddens me that there is still something that permeates the community, like a festering sore, a lack of understanding of what the referendum meant, specifically, of course, to Indigenous people. Because the referendum has been lost, should be nothing more than a clarion call to further action. This does not mean that we should throw our hands up in despair and ignore the struggles faced by Indigenous Australians. But does the rejection of the voice to Parliament indicate that the Australian community rejects the needs for First Nations people? No, it doesn't. Is there an underlying fermentation of racism, though, in this rejection? Because I believe there is. The referendum revealed the infection that underlies the Australian community, a serious and dangerous view that sets apart white people and immigrants from those who were colonised. It may prove to be difficult for some people to rationalise the past and the role our forefathers played in determining the outcomes for Indigenous people. Rejecting the voice to Parliament is proof that the belief systems which governed past governmental and community decisions are regretfully still present today. A type of apartheid still exists in this country, and even though this may not be governmental policy, it has become evident in community thinking. Now, for First Nations people, the rejection of the referendum was a stab in the heart. It was, in fact, I think we could honestly say, the ultimate rejection that many of us would not understand or even comprehend. Now, to be told that you're not valued, that your needs will never be met, and that what you say will never be heard are devastating consequences. And this is the result of the rejection presented by the referendum. There are many lessons to be learned from this referendum. Perhaps the most significant is that when Australians are asked to consider giving a minority group in our community a fair go, we are perhaps not as egalitarian as we thought we were. If an issue doesn't affect our hip pocket or is something with which we, I guess, don't have any direct contact, then it is kind of meaningless to us. I've experienced this when advocating for parents who've had their children removed by the Department of Child Protection. One would think that the well-being of children, I guess, kind of should be paramount. But the reality is that unless you have had direct contact with the child protection system, the well-being of children kind of, in a way, is not all that significant. We may acknowledge that what is happening, for example, and this is the current one, in Gaza is horrible. But there is a significant disconnect because, well, we're not being bombarded, we are not having our children killed, and we are not starving or without electricity or, heaven forbid, without the internet. We're okay. So whatever is happening to somebody else, whether that be a First Nations people or a Palestinian, will be reluctant to advocate for change. Frankly, I view this as pretty pathetic. Where we are presented with an opportunity to actually make change, for example, that is the referendum, we choose to do nothing. making that change is not going to affect us, but failure to make the change affects people whom we don't care about. People who frankly are not a part of our lives. They're distant, they're insignificant. There is a terrible disconnect of our nation's self-serving, narcissistic traits. It is a disgrace and something we all should feel shameful about. If you'd like to comment regarding anything I've said, please do so below. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take care, look after yourselves, and ensure that you and the people that you love are safe.